Hello, welcome back to another one of Archer's videos. Today I will be going over the basic rotation of Affliction. I'll start off with just the basics rotation, what spells you use, la-di-da-da, and then I'll move into more advanced sort of min-max things that I do. So if you're not bothered, you don't really care that much about your DPS, you just want to be able to not be bottom of the meters, then you don't have to worry about the end bit. But for those of you that really want to top the meters, stick around till the very end. And hopefully you might be able to squeeze a little bit out of it. Okay, so if we start, I'm here at the training dummy. Now, there's only really 6 spells you're going to use in the fight, as in damaging spells. Other than that, you've got your cooldowns, which everybody has. And they are Haunt, Agony, Corruption, Unstable Affliction, Malefic Grasp, Drained Soul. That's pretty much you're only damaging it. Motherfucker, get out of my way if you're a fat ass. You're only damaging spells. Now, on top of this, we have Soul Swap and Demon Soul. Dark Soul. I keep calling it Demon Soul. Can't get it out of my head. And, sorry about that, I thought I heard something. And Doomguard. So, right. Basic opener. Now, I always open with Soulburn, Soul Swap, because it instantly puts all 3 dots on the target. It's a good use. It's probably your highest use in terms of damage for a shard to open with. So you want to open with Soulburn, and then ideally pop your Dark Soul at the beginning so that your 3 dots have a much higher haste, so they're ticking a lot more often. So you hit your Dark Soul, Soul Swap, Haunt, Curse of Elements, and then you start Malefic Grasping. That's your basic opener. Very, very simple. Just Soulburn, Demons, Dark Soul, Soul Swap, Haunt, Malefic Grasp. And if you need to do Curse of Elements, then do Curse of Elements, obviously. Never let your dots drop off. I did then because I was busy talking. In most particularly, never let Agony drop off, ever. Because when it hits 10, it's doing so much more damage than 1 stack. So you must never let that drop off. You want to keep as much Haunt time up as possible, depending on how many Soul Shards you have available to you. The higher haste you'll have, the more Shard procs you'll get. So at lower gear levels, you might not really have the opportunity to actually keep that much of an uptime going. When it comes to refreshing your dots, you want to refresh it just before the last tick, so that it doesn't, or just after the last tick, ideally before it drops off, but not before you wasting any of the duration. So, because if you're casting it and it's got 2 ticks left, and you refresh it, you've wasted 2 ticks of the previous cast, which means you wasted, however much that equates to in terms of damage, where you could have been Malefic Grasping or could have been Drained Souling. So you never want to let your dots drop off, but at the same time you don't want to refresh them too early. It's better to let them drop off just a split second, then refresh it, than it is to refresh it too early. So bear that in mind. In terms of your cooldowns, obviously you've got your Doomguard, which really you want to pop at the beginning of every fight, because that's when all your procs line up, unless it's a fight like Zonos. Save it for later on, because he's getting damage, increased damage taken. Dark Soul, pretty much use it on cooldown, unless there's a certain period of damage coming up where you need to, burst something down or something, like the Parasite, or certain things which are really important, high damage targets, high priority targets, which you need to get down as quick as you can. You can save it for that. Otherwise, just use it on cooldown. If it's a fight like Old Traxxon, just pretty much use it on cooldown. Now, Fell Flame, only ever use this if you're moving. Don't ever use it to refresh your dots if you're standing still, because it's a damage loss, basically. The 1 GCD only gives you 6 seconds of duration, which when you start doing get into the whole numbers of it, you basically, it works out, you'd spend more time casting that than you would refreshing them. So only ever use this for movement. If you're moving, it's quite a good damage increase because it keeps your dots going, except for Agony, of course, but that's instant cast, so you can refresh that on the move anyway. But it also just keeps hitting it with this little 13-15k hit, just bam, 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 while you're walking around. Level 90 might be different, obviously, because if it's a heavy movement fight, we've got Kill Jaden's Cunning, which we can use possibly. So, that's... But at 85 now, only use Fell Flame for movement. Nothing else. Never anything else. So like I say, it's only a couple of spells really you actually need to use and keep up. Keep up all your dots, never let them drop off, refresh them as close to them dropping off as possible. Now, remember what I said about it's better that they drop off than you refresh it too early. That's fine for corruption and unstable affliction, but complete opposite for agony. Never ever let agony drop off. If you have to, because of, I don't know, something happening and you have to refresh it either now or in 4 seconds, and there's 2 seconds left or there's 3 seconds left on agony, then do it now, because in 4 seconds it would have dropped off and you would have lost stupid amounts of damage. So always make sure agony never drops off, but refresh corruption and unstable affliction as close to them dropping off as physically possible, basically. Haunt, keep up as much as you can, depending on how many soul shards you have. If you do find that you're really struggling for soul shards because you're not getting any procs, because I don't know, your haste is really bad or something along those levels, then you can drain soul mid-fight. Never drain soul when Haunt is up. Only ever Malefic Grasp when Haunt is up, because if you drain, while you're drain souling above 20%, obviously that's only above 20%, you're not getting the additional ticks from Malefic Grasp. And you when Haunt's up, you want to do as much damage as you can, because obviously everything's getting 25% increased damage. So never drain soul. Wait for Haunt to drop off, then start draining soul to get back a soul shard or two if you really need them. I don't really often have to do it that much. Maybe once, maybe for 1 or 2 shards across the duration of an entire fight at the minute. But we'll see how that pans out when it gets to 90 and I've got so less haste compared to what I've got now. So in terms of basic rotation, that's pretty much it. There's not really much more to it than that. If you just stick by those rules and never let your drops fall off, keeping Haunt up as much as you can, and Malefic Grasping in between, you'll still do pretty, reasonable, quite a lot of damage, because Affliction's so strong at the minute that even playing it badly, you can do more damage than some people playing their specs flawlessly. Like, it's just the way it is at the minute. So that hopefully gives you guys that have no idea how to play Affliction a little bit of insight. So now we can go over some of the more advanced things you'd want to do in order to really min-max your damage, to really push for absolute every possible bit of damage you can get. So I'll just go through all the things that I've sort of picked up over the last week or two from the patch, which have really helped increase my damage. I've seen my damage has gone up from the real basic level to doing all the min-maxing. It's gone up by about 10-15,000 DPS, so hopefully we can get the same for you. So now you have to bear with me, because I already recorded this once, and then whilst it was compressing I tried to turn my lamp off and I fucking turned my computer off, so it completely ruined the recording. So now I've got to do it again. Yeah. So I hope I'll try and remember everything I said previously, but if not, I'll add it as an annotation or something. Right, first of all, Haunt. Now, you want to make sure you get the full 8 seconds of Haunt. So if you've got 6 seconds left on your dots, say, so you're going to have to refresh your dots soon, you want to fill that 6 seconds with Malefic Grasp. Keep Malefic Grasping, wait till you've refreshed your dots, so you've got over 8 seconds left on every single dot, then Haunt, so that you get the entire duration of Malefic Grasp, of Haunt buff to Malefic Grasp. Because if you spend any time casting anything else during Haunt, casting Unstable Affliction, recasting Corruption, or recasting Agony, or having to pop a defensive cooldown, or having to move, or anything like that, it's a waste. So always make sure you can get the maximum 8 seconds out of your Haunt in order to get absolute maximum damage out of every single shard, because that's where the damage difference really comes from. Somebody that's playing well and someone playing bad is how well you utilize your shards, because that's where your damage increase comes from. Only ever life tap when you're moving, or if you really need it. Now, because like healers say, they would use their mana cooldowns once they have the deficit that they would require to get the mana back. Like, so they're down to 75% mana, the mana cooldown's going to give them 20% mana, they'd use it then immediately so that they can get back up to full, so that the cooldown can continue going, so they might get to use it again later on in the fight. It's not like that for us, because it's an on-use, bam, there's your load of mana back. You can use it right, wait till you get right down to the bottom of your bar, when you really need the mana, then use it. Or if there's movement, use it during the movement phase, because you know, you can only really fell flame during the movement phase, and it's not a massive amount of damage, you know, it's only 1 GCD swapping out, so try and avoid life tapping unless you're moving, or unless you really fucking need it. Now, if you, this one's you're going to have to sort of, it's about judging it really, it's about your gear, how much shard you're getting back based on your haste, as to whether you want to use it or not. But when you've got all 3 dots coming off, so you've got Unstable Affliction running out, Corruption running out, Agony running out, and you're going to have to refresh them all, there's no question about that. But you've got 3 shards maybe even 4, you've got an abundance of shards, and you're finding you're not really struggling for shards and still managing to keep up Haunt quite a high percentage, then you probably will get you'll get a more DPS gain if you use Soulburn Soul Swap to refresh all 3 dots in 1 GCD rather than 3.5. So whenever you have an abundance of soul shards, use it to refresh all 3 dots. Now that'll happen every other rotation, because you'll Haunt, you put your dots up, Malefic Grasp, and then Unstable Affliction will start to run out, you'll cast that. At that point, Corruption will start to run out, and then you'll cast that, and then you'll carry on again, Malefic Grasp, and da-da-da. Then Unstable Affliction will start to run out, you want to cast that, Corruption starts to run out, cast that, and Agony will start to run out. Every other time you refresh an Unstable Affliction, Agony will also need to be done. So it's every other time round, that's when you want to Soulburn Soul Swap, if you've got the shards to use it. If not, then don't. Because if you're not got the shards, you're not got the shards, Dark Soul, not Demon Soul, Dark Soul. You want to use this on cooldown, right at the beginning, then as soon as it comes up, bam, bam, bam. But you need to be smart with it. You have to look at the remaining health of the boss, how quickly it's dying, and figure out how many times you're going to get to use it. Like, because if you remember my previous video, I tracked when we got down to 40% when Demon Soul came off of cooldown, and I could have hit it right there and then, just be like, bam, Demon Soul, yeah, motherfucker, die. But that would have been a DPS loss overall, because I'm only going to get to use it 1 more time, so it's better to save it for 20% execute phase when you drain soul, and when you're going to get a lot more damage. So it's about figuring it out, fight by fight basis, as to when's the best time to use it. Obviously, if there's fights where you need to use it for high priority targets, like on Madness, where you've got the Corrupting Parasite, or the Blistering Tentacles, or the Meteor, things like that, then that's fair enough. But if it's just a fight like Ultraxion, just think ahead, basically. You really need to just manage it yourself. Don't just spam it without thinking. Now, if you've got enough shards and you're going to fire out 3, 2, 3, maybe 4, I don't know, depends how many procs you get, haunts one after the other, bam, bam, bam. So you got 4 shards, everything's, you've got all your dots up, everything's fine. You're gonna fire out 3 haunts in a row because you've got the shards for it. You want to, what I would always do is make sure that the new haunt lands just before the old haunt buff falls off, so that the new haunt gets 25% increased damage, because the haunt hits hard, basically. Like, normal hits about 50k in a raid, crits 100k, and you're going to get 25% increased on that. It's a lot. And if you're going to do that 2 or 3 times in one little segment, then that's an extra 25, 50 to 100k damage, just because you timed it better, So, and if you do that a couple of times over the fight, it's a couple of 100k extra damage. So, if you're going to fire out a couple of haunts consecutively, don't let the haunt buff drop off before the next haunt comes in. Now, in order to do that, you need to figure out the flight time of your spells. which is different boss by boss. A lot of bosses is pretty quick because they're usually quite close, but some bosses like Ragnaros's phase 1, fucking huge. I think it's like a 4-second flight time, 3.5 second flight time. Can be really tricky to time it, but you need to figure that out early on in the fight so that you can utilise that the rest of the fight. So bear that in mind. Now this one caught me out a lot on Madness the other day. It was really fucking annoying. Soulburn Soul Swap. I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier on in the easy bit. I don't think I did. Soulburn, the Glyph of Soul Swap. Now they said that it's working as intended on their internal systems, but at the same time they've said they want it to do what it currently isn't doing. So basically Blizzard said that if you've got the Glyph of Soul Swap, the one which copies the dots rather than removes them, but it gives you a 30-second cooldown, Soulburn Soul Swap is not supposed to invoke a cooldown on that, but it is. Like, at least it was last I had it. But they said on their internal systems it isn't, and it's working as intended. So we're not sure what they actually want at the minute. So I took the Glyph off so that you can just Soulburn Soul Swap happily away just without worrying about it. But one thing you need to be aware of is server lag. Now, if you hit Soulburn and then hit Soul Swap too quickly afterwards, which I did a lot, really annoying, the server doesn't register you've got Soulburn active, and it does a normal Soul Swap, so it removes the fucking dots from your target. And it's like, thanks, I now can't Soulburn back onto the, I can't Soul Swap back onto the target because you can't put the dots back onto the target you just removed it from, because that's how Soul Swap works. But you can't use the Soulburn effect on it to refresh all 3 dots or put 3 dots on it until you've got rid of your until you've exhaled, or until that runs out of time. So you end up stuck there with no dots, and you're forced to refresh them all again because of the server lag. So be in mind, you need to wait, half a second maybe for it to register that you've actually Soulburned. Otherwise, it really fucks you up. It pisses me off low end. And potions. Anybody that's raided like for any amount of time will already know this, but for people that maybe haven't raided or just don't know, you get 1 potion per fight. You get to use 1 potion per fight. Using a potion invokes a cooldown normally, but obviously in a fight you can't then use it again in a fight. So what you do is you ideally want to get a countdown from your tank, so you know when the fight's going to engage. What you do is 1 second before the fight starts, you hit your potion, so that you have the buff when the fight starts. Now, that will invoke a cooldown on it. I think it's 30 seconds, 50 seconds, something like that, minute maybe, till you can use another potion. But because you didn't use the potion during the fight, you can use it again during the fight. So you get 2 per fight that way, so you can use it later on. Now the first, I obviously always use it at the beginning in order to be able to, it's called pre-potting, so you can get 2 in a fight, and then right at the end you want to save the second use of it for 20% below to time with your Dark Soul and your Drained Soul for your execute time, so that you can really maximise your execute damage, because that's where you do your most damage, is execute under 20%. So it makes sense to give you as much of a damage increase at that point as possible. So always save your second potion for under 20%. I'm pretty sure that's all the little things I can think of. If I do think of any more at any point, I'll add them into the information or something below. What I'm hoping to do is we're putting a team together to hopefully come up with more videos like mage guides, rogue guides, etc, etc. That's for them to actually get around to making and then giving me to put on the channel. But I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do raid guides for all of the Mr. Pandaria bosses as and when we get there, and as and when we kill it, to give you some sort of guide for each individual boss. So Or like I said, keep an eye on www.raidguides.com. That's my website, which hopefully that's what I'll be adding all the videos to. So you can just see everything on there. Keep checking that regularly for updates. And if there's anything any of you guys want to see, you know, anything in particular that you're dying to know, or you wanna walk through for anything in particular, just message me, comment, you know, let me know, and I'll do my best to accommodate. The more people I get subscribing and watching and liking, and the more traffic I get to the site, the more time I can devote to doing these videos. So the more you want to see, the more you're going to watch. So tell everybody that anyone wants to know, and hopefully things can we can help you with anything you need. So as always, comment, like and subscribe, and check out raidguides.com, and I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.